Okay, my people, welcome to FBA All Day, the show about justice and understanding for our people. I am the Lord Eric Steele, aka Big Rossi Love, the perpetual student of the survival scrolls. Well, if you know, you know. And I've been going on and on about these my business, trying to avoid this situation because it's very ingrained. But this show, as I said, is about injustice and truth. So I'm gonna have to adjust it. I was sent pretty close to 200 requests to go in on this. It's a topic that's been hashed out by a few, but I guess they want to hear my specific perspective on this situation. I'm a military brat. I've been from all both. I've lived on both coasts. I lived in the north, the south, San Diego, L.A. I lived all the way out. I've been all over California. I'm from New Jersey. I've been all over this place. All right. They want to hear my particular perspective on this issue with the Latinos. This one question just keeps popping up in my requests. What do you think about the Latinos asking about FBA participation? Okay, that's a great question. All right, and I'll give you the reason why I believe it is a great question. It has been the I don't want to say common knowledge, but it's been repeated a lot that there is some sort of a black and brown camaraderie. All right, now to a degree, I believe that this is so. There are some enclaves like Oceanside, California, where there is a lot of intermingling with the blacks and browns. There is a lot of love there. There has been a lot of animosity there. There has been couples that are dear to me. You know, some of my brothers got Latino wives or have Latino spouses and the vice versa. I know a couple of homeboys that I went to school with that were Latino that had black girlfriends. So I seen that growing up. I seen it a lot. But I've also seen the tension side of that. There's a tension side of that too, because those couples usually go through issues in their home. That Latino girl's parents or that Latino girl's brothers will have issues with her dating that guy. Now, I'm not the judge of it. You love who you love as far as I'm concerned. I'm just giving you the reality of it all. Okay? Those and that animosity is there just like it is with any other interracial couple. You're going to have some who are opposed to it and some who are okay and fine with it. Okay? For me, I'm neither one nor the other. That has nothing to do with my people as far as I'm concerned. You love who you love as far as I'm concerned. But these things have to be addressed. We cannot let this continue riding, and I'm going to give the people what they asked for. Now, I'm going to instead of talking about personable relationships, I'm going to talk about officials. In particular, elected and hired officials. Okay? We'll jump right into the elected officials first because these people have the opportunity to do the most damage to us. Okay, Eric Steele, well, what are you talking about? Well, let's start with the LA City Council. It's no secret that those people, once they, okay, let me give you a little bit of economic history as well. Okay, let me break it all down for you and put it in perspective as if I was talking to one of my children. All right, peep game. Now, this fallacy or this commonly spreaded rumor or statement that they like to say is that, oh, black people are lazy, black people don't like to work. That's not the case. The reason that they say these things is for people that will accept less can try to push us in or push us out the way. And I'll tell you what I mean. When you have a place like Los Angeles where the cost of living is so high, okay, where the cost of living is so high, and if you try to strike out on your own as a black male, you're going to find out really quickly that the cost of living will exceed whatever your pay will be. Let's say you're an 18-year-old guy just graduated high school and you want to go out into Los Angeles and you want to rent your own apartment. Want to get you a nice little one-bedroom apartment somewhere. Do you know that those people are going to want first and last plus a deposit to move in? Okay? Do you know how much minimum wage is in California? You know the difficulties with that? And that's just getting the place to live. That's not paying for your food. That's not paying for clothes and upkeep. That's not your monthly maintenance for yourself. And God forbid you have a car. Imagine what your insurance is going to be. Okay. And imagine if you have a car that's worth anything. All right. So it pushes that needle, and it pushes you further down the line as far as achieving those things. Okay. Now, some of our people have been programmed to the point where they'll say, "Oh, well, when my son is 18, he getting out." Now, if you haven't properly prepared that person for life, he's in for a rude awakening when you do kick him out, because life is not that easy. It's just not. Now, I'll give you the way that some of the Asians and the Latinos handle this situation. The reason why they'll work those little jobs for next to no pay, they can work for $10 to $15 an hour out there, is because they have multiple people in their households. You see, if you have 15 to 20 people living in your house and all of y'all are making $10 an hour, you can come up. You can survive on that because there's multiple streams of income coming into that household. That's how they do it. They pile one another in there, and then they say, "Oh, black people just don't want to work." No, it's not that we don't want to work. We don't want to work for nothing. We demand a living wage. We expect a living wage. I'm going to work for 8 hours. I want to be able to see. I want to be able to, exist on what I'm being paid. That's what I'm working for. So if you're working and you're not even making enough money to exist, now I'm not talking about an extravagant condo and having a Porsche. I'm talking very bare minimums. Very bare minimums. A Nissan Sentra is almost $400 a month. That's your average car note for something. So I'm not talking about a Camaro. I'm not talking about a Porsche or Jag. God forbid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about bare minimums. Now, you could probably find you a bucket somewhere. Those that are down, we know how to go get a bucket. Hit an auction up. Get your weight up first. But still, these are the precepts that cause these people to say and do the things that they do. So they'll hear this stuff. Now, they don't know this. They've heard this. They've heard a white supremacist somewhere say black people are lazy. And they should be the last ones to talk, because nobody worked harder than a slave. They should be the last people to open their mouth, but they do it continually. They spread that nonsense, and that's what it is. It's nonsense. So that's where that comes from. They want us to work for them dumb wages, and since those people will come and work for nothing, and then once they get in, it's, hey, I have a cousin, you know what I mean? I have a brother or a cousin, an uncle coming up here. They'll work just as hard as I will for that same little piece of change you're giving me. So now they got two people making $10 an hour instead of having one black person working for 20. You see? That's how they moved our people out. As rents escalated and black people was like, I can't live out here by myself, they start moving inland. They start moving out to Rialto, San Bernardino, Riverside. They start moving out that way where it's a little more affordable to live. You can exist by yourself out there. Okay, does that make sense? Same kind of thing happens here in New York. Same kind of thing happens out here in New York. It's the same thing. People that can't live in the city, you'll see them moving a little bit further to the outskirts. They'll slide over to Jersey, or they'll make their moves. But the only way people can maintain themselves here is that they're all stacking up. They're stacking up, and that's how they're moving people out. That and gentrification, that's a whole other thing, but I'm not going to get into it. But that's what happens there. Okay? So that's where all that comes in. But I'm going to talk about that. So when you have all these people here, all of a sudden, they become the majority population in the city because of that. So now they can elect who they want to elect in office because they're the majority population. See how that works? Even though undocumented people aren't supposed to be, they can't vote because you have to show, that it's a whole thing. I'm not getting into it. But that's how they become the majority population. Okay? Now, when these people get elected into office, instead of being civil, instead of being having morals and doing things the correct way, they revert back to the same old stuff we've been dealing with. The same stuff. And I'll give you an instance of that. And on October 9th, 2022, An audio recording surfaced of a private meeting involving the Los Angeles City Council members. Okay? Those members were Miss Martinez. Here's a picture of her, Miss Martinez. Mr. Cedillo, here's him. Kevin De Leon, here's him. And Mr. Herrera. These were people we know were in that meeting. Okay? All Hispanic. Most of them no hair on their upper lip. Can you really trust a man with no hair on his upper lip? I'm just saying. They were talking about setting up the districts for voting, setting up their fan base. And I know some of that can be gray area. It's technically illegal. You're not supposed to do it, but the Republicans are masters at it. They redistrict North Carolina in such a way that the black voters don't even matter because they either put them all in one thing, so it's them against every other, district out there, which makes them null and void, or they put them in an area or a corner of each district where they basically get null and void. They masterfully chopped up North Carolina. The white supremacists did. So the black vote in North Carolina is null and void at this point. Okay, but it was a closed-door meeting at the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor offices. It lasted maybe an hour. It was Martinez, Cedillo, De Leon, and Herrera. They were discussing specific council members, redistricting, and how to consolidate, and preserve political power. So I'm setting the scene for you there. So they all up in there comfortably among each other. You know what I'm saying? All Latinos, all Spanish-speaking doing their thing. In the recording, it gained attention because of the attacks and the language that they used in it. Okay. Herrera, who was the president at the time, she said when they were discussing redistricting, the area of Koreatown in Los Angeles came up, and she said, "I see a lot of little short dark people there." Little short dark people is what she said she sees in Koreatown. Okay. Your boy Cedillo said they're not even like Kevin. They're not even like Kevin. They're little. Like smaller than Kevin is what he was saying. Then Miss Martinez says, I was like, I don't know what village they came from or how they got here, but whatever. And then she said, to fail, which means in Spanish, they're ugly. That's what she said. Now, she was saying that about Koreans. Okay? And when she said this, there was no pushback. There was no pushback from the other members that were there. Nobody said, hey, don't talk like that, or yo, that's wrong, don't, you know what I'm saying? Nobody said nothing. And here's one thing I've learned in all these political studies of mine, is silence is complicit. If you don't speak up when somebody's doing something wrong or saying something wrong, you're in agreement as far as I'm concerned. You agree. If you don't speak out, if you don't say anything, you're complicit. You're in just agreement. You're in agreement with them as if you said it yourself, as far as I'm concerned. Especially when it comes to city offices and city officials, when it comes to those sort of things, when you don't speak out for what's right, you're complicit and you have to be held accountable. You're complicit. That's like if somebody was talking about my brother or my mother. I'd be like, hey, yo, watch your mouth. You're talking real reckless right now. Watch your tone, son. You know what I mean? Hold up. You're getting a little carried away. You know? You have to speak up. You speak up, especially if they're in the wrong. And sometimes you don't care if they're in the wrong or not. Just because, no, hey, that's my brother, that's my whoever, whoop-de-woo. Don't talk like that. You understand? Not around me. I don't want to hear that. Please don't talk like that around me. I'm getting a little heated. I hear my accent coming out. Let me bring this back a little bit. What has to happen is when you hear these sort of things going on in an official capacity, you have to address it immediately. If you're an elected official and you're in a meeting and these sort of things are being said, you have to address them immediately. You don't let that sort of speak or that sort of talk fester. Because if they're comfortable enough to say it around you, you should be asking yourself, why are they so comfortable talking like this around me? Why are they so comfortable being racist around me? Now you got to start questioning yourself, especially if you didn't speak out. Because now everybody's side-eyeing you. Why didn't you say nothing? Yo, when she said this, what did you say? You didn't say nothing? Ah, you were complicit. So, also, the participants were discussing gerrymandering when the district attorney, George Gaskin, came up. Caucasian-looking guy, if I'm not mistaken. Martinez said, F that guy. He's with the blacks. Did you hear me? The president of the city council said, F that guy, he's with the blacks. In Los Angeles. And you guys want to know where the foundational black Americans are now that Hispanics are being rounded up in Los Angeles? Now you want to know where we are when we have to deal with this. These are the sort of things that we deal with. And you want to know why we don't want to come and help? Did anybody go after her? Did LULAC go after her? I don't think so. I didn't hear a peep from LULAC. And what did I just say about not saying anything? And for those not keeping up, LULAC is the Latino organization. Not one of, but it is the largest Latino organization. They didn't have a statement at all. Not one. And what did I just say about complicity? That was a couple years ago. They still ain't said nothing. Okay? And as far as Hernandez goes, she also insulted another council member, Mike Bonin. He had adopted a black child. She was referring to his behavior, and the boy was like 2 or 3. He was 2 or 3 years old. Like I said, it was a couple years ago. She said they raising him like a little white kid. Raising him like a little white kid. Okay. Then she said, this kid needs a beat down. She said, let me take him around the corner and I'll be right back. As if to insinuate she gonna take the little black kid around the corner and beat him down. 3 years old. She gonna instill the justice herself. Like they ain't them little bastards running around downtown LA. She could address them easily. And they ain't even kids. It was a gang of Latinos jumped an autistic or special needs black boy, and like 4 or 5 of them jumped on a special needs kid. No comment from her. She didn't speak on that, but she ready to jump on the 3-year-old black boy, though. You feel me? Then she called the little black boy Chunguito. Chunguito, which means monkey. That's a racial slur in Spanish. It means little monkey. So this sort of stuff runs rampant out there. And it's not just LA. I'm not just picking on LA. That's rampant out there. I'm just pointing out the elected officials. I'm not even going to talk about those that get hired. Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about those. Let me get into that a little bit. Let's get into that. There was a group of deputies, the executioners. They were deputies working in the Compton station. It was around 80 of them. Do you know how they chose their recruits? They chose the members of the executioners. They based their membership off if they had previous violence against the Compton community. If you were in Compton and you were violent against the people in Compton, you could be considered to be recruited for the executioners. But here's the caveat. No recruits could be black. No black people. And this is common knowledge. This is common knowledge. So when they throw out these little statistics, oh, black people commit the most crime. No, no, no. Wait, before you get too carried away. Your statistic doesn't mean black people committed the most crime. Your statistics mean black people are accused of the most crime. Those are two different things, my friend. Because I can tell you two things. I can tell you one, you can never commit a crime, but I can't tell you you won't be accused of committing a crime. They're not the same thing. Now, if you have a specific group of people being targeted, of course those people are going to have higher numbers. They're being targeted. You're turning a blind eye to the people like you. You're turning a blind eye to others that aren't that. So, of course, those numbers are going to be elevated because they're being targeted. Does that make sense? I always see this meathead Charlie Kirk making his little, oh, and according to this statistic and that. Listen, numbers can be manipulated. You understand that? You give me an issue and I can find a way to manipulate a number to prove whatever I'm saying or to prove whatever I want to prove. Because numbers can be manipulated. So he goes to these little colleges and he impresses these people whose minds are not set. He won't go talk to no G's with that nonsense. You notice that? You know what you find in colleges? You find children. He goes and tries to confront children. He won't come to no educated grown-ups with that nonsense. He won't go to a Dr. Randy Short. He won't pull up on Tariq Nasheed. He won't pull up on a black authority. I double dare him to pull up on me. I will light Charlie Kirk up like a firecracker with all his nonsense. They like to spout those little incorrect numbers as if that means something. Well, why are black women per capita committing more abortion than it? Listen, I'll tell you why your numbers say they do. This is how they work the per capita game. I'm a little off topic, but I'm going to give it to you. They'll say, oh, we have a group of women, so we'll have 100 white women, okay? And they say out of that 100 white women, 10 white women had abortions, okay? So that'll give them 10%. Then they'll ask 2 black women. 1 out of the 2 will have had an abortion. And then they go, oh, black women are having abortions at the rate of 50%. And 50% is more than the 100%, is more than the 10%. Oh, so black women are having per capita way more abortion. Man, listen, miss me with the nonsense. No, they're not. That's just garbage. You have to ask them, the persons who did those statistics or who gathered that data, was there an even amount of black women and an even amount of white women in that statistic? Did you interview an even amount of women? Was there 100 women and 100, was there 100 black and 100 white? Was that how you did it? Because that's, I guarantee you, it's not how they did it. It's not at all. But they'll give you the sum total and they say per capita. You see what I'm saying? Don't fall for that nonsense. All right. Now back on these hired guys here. So the Executioners was a gang in Compton. The Executioners was a Latino gang within the sheriff's department, within the deputy's department. Yeah, sheriff's department, they're deputies. There was a gang inside there, a Latino gang called the Executioners. Okay, they operated in Compton, of all places. Imagine being black. It's already hard enough to be black and in Compton. You got these morons rolling around, targeting you. Okay? There's also a gang called the Bandidos. Again, within the sheriff's department. There was well-known ones were like Rafael Munoz, Manny Navarro. These are known members of this gang within the sheriff's department. Never fired. They're allowed to exist. They were allowed to be there. Okay? You never hear LULAC speaking out about them. And in case you were wondering about LULAC, I'm going to give you a little insight. Okay, what is your thoughts about blacks or the FBA not being there for Latinos? Let me tell you what the president of LULAC said. One time, President John Herrera, who was the president of LULAC, said Latin Americans of Mexican descent belong to the Caucasian race and therefore they are white. That's what John Herrera said. John Herrera said Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. If Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race, why aren't you screaming for Caucasians to come out there and roll with y'all? Why you looking for foundational black Americans? Why they want us to show up? Your president of your little organization here, he says y'all are considered white. What you looking for us for? Oh, well, that's just one guy. Okay, well, another president of LULAC, Mr. Felix Tahira, Felix Tahina, there you go. He was another president of LULAC. He said, let the Negro fight his own battles. He said, and I quote, let the Negro fight his own battles. His problems are not mine. I don't want to ally with him. Where's the foundation of black Americans? We chilling. We sitting this one out. We don't feel it's necessary for us to participate at this time. We're going to sit this one out. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and sit this one out. We're going to go ahead and sit this one out. The complacency with these people when things are done wrong to us. Now, let me get it straight. I always want to tell you I never say all of anything. All of the Mexicans don't think that way. All of Latinos don't think that way. Okay, like I said, I know some people who are dear to me that are of Latin descent. I have a lot of Latin friends that I grew up with. We tight to this day. But we can't overlook the overwhelming evidence of the majority of these people that behave this way. We cannot overlook that. And even in my cool people, they have members of their own family that I know think this way, feel this way. I've seen it. I'm not talking to you about something that I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm speaking to you from my personal experience. I could, but I'm not. I could literally drop names of at least 10, 15 different people that I grew up with of Latin descent who I know have commingled, who I know have had a black boyfriend or a black girlfriend. They get down like that. They get down like that. But their family members don't approve. Unless you have a grandchild, maybe the mother or father comes around. But even then, I don't think those children are treated as the rest of the grandchildren. I don't believe that. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. Okay? You can learn to love a person, I get it. And then you think that person is special. He's not like the rest of them. It goes into a whole, you know what I'm saying? A whole kind of white people trying to assimilate Tiger Woods thing where, oh, he's not like the rest of the black. Yeah, he's just like the rest of us. Y'all just. Okay. Let me go a little deeper here. And try to break this down a little further for you. Because like I said, these things, they need to be addressed, bro. Gus Garcia, who is a Mexican civil rights attorney, said, I know Negroes aren't getting their full share of democracy. He knows this. He didn't say, I guess they're not. This civil rights attorney, Mr. Garcia, who is of Latin descent, said, I know Negroes aren't getting their full share of democracy. But I don't believe that they are entitled to everything we get. Did you hear that? He knows black people aren't getting everything they're supposed to get. But he don't want us to get more than the Latinos get. He don't want us to get more than what they get. This is what he said. He said, I do not believe they are entitled. Entitled. This is our country. We built this country. Let me disperse on that other stuff. Listen, Mexico was not stolen. California was not stolen from Mexico. That's a lie. First of all, they lost the war. That's the first thing. Second thing is the United States paid them for the land. Who do you know beat your behind in war and then paid you? They were treated more than fairly, bro. More than fairly. Usually when you lose the war, your land gets taken from you. And that's it, that's all. And Mexico can't mess with the United States militarily. It's not even a question. But they lost the war. They got their butts whooped in the war. And then they were paid. The compensating price they were paid for is the number that they agreed to. They agreed to the money. So how did they get robbed? They didn't get robbed. Now they tricked off the money once they got it. The people who are in power took the money and did what they did. They didn't help the people like they were supposed to. But that's not the fault of the United States. Mexico did that. So get it right. Whenever they say, oh, this was their land, no, it wasn't. That's a lie. First of all, they weren't even the first people in California. Black people were. Foundational black Americans were in California way before any person came over the Bering Straits that mingled and came and became the Mexican people. Way before that. Well, Eric Steele, what are you talking about? Look up the Folsom people. Look up the Folsom people. Folsom. There's also a prison named after them. Folsom Prison. Look it up. All right. They were the first people in the land that's now called California were the Folsom people, and they were black, not Mexican. All right. So miss me with that they were here first, because they weren't. They weren't here first, and they didn't get their land stolen. All right. They lost the war first. Secondly, they were paid. The price they put on it was met. They were paid their price, and that land now belongs to the United States. It has nothing to do with nobody stealing. So that's nonsense. So when he says entitled to, what does he think he's entitled to that we're not? And we built this place. Do you see the mindset? Do you see the mindset? He said, and I quote, Gus Garcia, he said, and this guy's considered a Mexican civil rights attorney. He said, I am prejudiced against Negroes. And I can respect that. As a man, that's where he stands. I can respect that. Wrong as he is, I can respect that. But this brings to light to me something that one of the elders said. Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Claude Anderson and his people went to Detroit. Detroit, which is the most heavily populated, has the most heavily black population in the United States of all the cities. Detroit has the most population. They were like 80% black at one point. Dr. Claude Anderson went with a project to Detroit to help the black people there, to bring things in, to get training and so forth, and to bring in money, black funded dollars into Detroit to help the black population. It was going to be for blacks, by blacks, helping blacks in the most heavily black populated city in the United States. And do you know what those elected officials did when he got there with that plan? When Dr. Claude Anderson brought to them a plan to help bring the people up in Detroit. There's a black city. Let's Motown, baby. Let's build Motown. Let's build it back up. You know what those elected black officials said? They said it's too black. It's a great plan, but it's too black. When he told me that, I almost felt stabbed. It almost was a physical annoyance with me when I heard that. I couldn't believe it. We are the only group of people who elect people in positions who turn around and stab us in the back. No other group of people tolerate that. No other group of people will allow somebody they elected to get in office and backstab them that way. No other group of people. I don't know if it's the Christian beliefs. I don't know why we allow that, but I'm sure that day is done. That's what I'm sure of. I would love to look back or get with Dr. Claude Anderson and see which officials he was talking to that said that. And I would love to make sure that those people are put on Front Street. I would love that. They think they can get behind closed doors and stab us and undermine us. I would love to get the name of the people who was in that meeting. I would love that. And I would plaster their pictures all across the internet and let everybody know, especially in Detroit, what they did to you. Instead of giving you an opportunity to come up, these people that you put in office or who are elected in office, they stabbed you in the back. And we should hold their names in infamy among our people. No more of this backroom dealing where people are doing whatever they want to do to us and there's no consequences. That needs to stop. And just for our young people who don't know, this is Dr. Claude Anderson. He is one of our elders. He should be held in the highest esteem and the highest regard. I don't agree with everything he says sometimes because, like I said, Christianity dilutes some beliefs. Christianity dilutes some of our positive movements, and I understand that and I respect the game. But this guy is to be noted and to be honorably mentioned at all times. All right, that does it for this episode of FBA All Day. I'm Lord Eric Steele, bringing you this heat. I'm going to continue to answer these questions. There's lots of things coming down the line. The website is almost finished. Is FBAallday.net is the website. Again, I'm Lord Eric Steele. Special shout outs to the author, the up and coming author E.L. Daly, doing his thing, supporting out there, and we want to send love back. Again, Lord Eric Steele, FBA All Day, out.